Hey, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about an aspect of Japanese architecture that doesn't get much attention most of the time, but it's an area that I'm personally very interested in, and that is traditional gates and walls. We are not going to be going to any famous tourist locations or buildings, but just walking around the neighborhood. Starting with a really cool little place just over here. Let's go check it out. I think this is a modern reproduction of a traditional Japanese wall, but it still looks really nice. Well, I have an extra bike, so why don't we ride around the town a bit and check out some cool looking traditional walls and gates. Well, here we are at one of our local Buddhist temples. Notice the obvious similarities in architecture style. I think basically the correct way to build a wall and a gate came from the aesthetic and building style of these traditional Buddhist temples and castles too. Japanese castles also have a very similar look. So I guess if you're building your family home and you have the resources to do so, building a really solid wall around it with a prominent gate at the front kind of gives your property a sense of social weight, I guess you could say, or something like that. I don't actually think that people consciously want to make their houses' walls look like that of a Buddhist temple or castle. But this style of wall carries a sense of cultural continuity and stability. Not to mention wealth and social status. One of the more obvious such displays in a culture that frowns on flaunting wealth and social status. And I think these same connotations are what makes building a wall and gate like this less appealing for most younger Japanese people these days. We can talk more about that in a minute. First, there's someone I need to introduce. While we're here, it's a good opportunity to see what one of these gates looks like on the inside. The locking mechanism takes some getting used to. Who wants a walk? Okay. It's interesting, most of the newer houses that are being built these days don't have this kind of wall. And there's a few reasons for this, I think. One of the reasons is, it may seem counterintuitive at first, but security. Because there's been a lot of data coming out that having a wall like this kind of marks you as a target for burglary. One, because it looks like you probably have money, because they're quite expensive to build. And two, because they create a barrier between the outside street and the inside of your property, right? So for people who want privacy, that could be a good thing, but once you're on the inside of that barrier, whatever you're doing in there is kind of invisible. So the police have been recommending people to consider other options. Anyway, aside from the security issue, I think that a lot of people just aesthetically like the feeling of openness. The cultural desire for privacy has maybe diminished a bit. But the main reason, I guess, which I sort of alluded to earlier, is just the cost. I mean, it costs a lot of money to build one of these big walls and prominent front gates around your home. And most families starting out these days just don't have that extra money lying around to do that. They have a limited budget for building their home, and that's not how they want to spend it. This is my home, by the way. We wrapped up construction on this place about 3 years ago. And as you can see, we didn't put in any walls. In case you're interested, I video blogged the entire construction process. There are 10 videos in the series, and if you haven't done so yet, you should check them out. Thanks for watching. If you have any requests for future content, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.